Are there any Capital One credit cards that you're looking to apply for, but you're wondering how to increase your chances of approval? Well, this video will be your perfect guide to help you increase those chances. We're going to be discussing the main Capital One credit card application rules in this video that we'll be able to understand what to expect before you apply and basically have a checklist to make sure that each of the little requirements that they have will be satisfied on your end. That way your approval should hopefully come through. We'll first discuss the general requirements, and these apply broadly across Capital One's cards, although differences do appear from one card to another. We'll discuss those in a few moments here, but first, where to find these general requirements is as follows. After you navigate to the application of whichever card you're going to apply for, scroll down on the page toward the bottom and you'll see Capital One application terms. That's its own scrollable box right there with all the rates and fees and things like that. So scroll within that box all the way, I'd say at least midway down, maybe a bit further, to the section that is called Additional Disclosures and Terms and Conditions. And that's where you'll see the main bullet points of the requirements for that application. The ones that I have here as an illustration on the screen for you are pulled from the Capital One Venture X credit card, which is a very popular one among a lot of people. So we'll go over the ones here, and I've copied them into some formatted font that's a little bit bigger and easier for you to read right here. So I know it's a lot to read, but we'll go over them quickly one by one because they are absolutely vital to your success and whether you can get approved or denied. It says, I understand that I am not eligible for this offer if my application is received after the offer expires, is incomplete, unreadable, inaccurate, or cannot be verified. Of course, if the offer is not available, you won't be able to get it. So that one pretty much makes sense. The next one down, the next two actually deal with your address. If your address is not in one of the following locations, the 50 United States, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, or a U.S. military location, or if your address is in a correctional institution. Now, this next one is very interesting because most banks don't mention anything related to income requirements, but Capital One does. You're not going to be eligible for the offer if my monthly income, that is my disclosed total annual income divided by 12, doesn't exceed my monthly rent or mortgage payment by at least $425. Or Capital One otherwise determines that I'm unable to make my monthly payments. I am under 18 or do not have a valid social security number or individual taxpayer identification number, or I have applied for a Capital One credit card 2 or more times in the last 30 days. I'll call that one out separately a little bit later in this video. Next part here and the last half of this, I have received a new card member bonus for this product in the last 48 months. I'll call that one out separately as well a little bit later. And then we have the rest of the bullet points kind of illustrating a picture of lack of financial stability. So if you have a past due Capital One credit card account, if you are over your credit line on a Capital One card that you already have, if you have had a Capital One credit card that's been charged off within the past year, if you've got a non-discharge bankruptcy, meaning one that's still not resolved, and if you have implemented a credit security freeze or credit lock with one or more of the credit bureaus, which prevents Capital One from accessing my credit report. I'll also be calling that one out later in the video too, but the main points to gather here was all the things related to your age, your location, your income, and your overall financial stability. Now, while these general requirements do apply in a blanketed fashion over most of Capital One's cards, a few of the bullet points can be tweaked from one card product to another. As an example of this, here are 3 of their cards: the Venture X on the top, the Quicksilver Secured there in the middle, and the business card, the Spark 1.5% Cash Select at the bottom. Any rule that is identical or similar in its nature, I put with the same underlined color here. Now, I'm not going to go over all these right now. Feel free to pause this if you want to look at it directly from Capital One, because I'll be calling out all these rules individually as we move along throughout the video here. This is just meant to illustrate that whenever you're going to apply for a Capital One card, there may be some differences. So read the terms for your specific application to make sure that you're in compliance because some rules may apply in certain circumstances while they may not in others. So the first main rule that we're going to cover here is Capital One's 48-month rule, and this is mentioned directly in the terms. Putting it into my words, you're not eligible for the card offer if you've received a new card member bonus for the same card in the past 48 months. And you can see that underlined right there in red from the term sheet on Capital One. That was for the Venture X card, by the way. But it also applies to the other Venture cards like the regular Venture Rewards with a $95 annual fee, also the no fee Venture One, and the Saver cards too, maybe even some others. So be on the lookout for this one for sure, especially if you're going for your second bonus on the same card. You want the 4 years to have passed. Rule number 2, the 2-3-30 rule. This one again is taken directly from the terms here, and it says that you are not eligible for a card offer if you applied for a Capital One credit card 2 or more or 3 or more times in the last 30 days. You can see on the left side screenshot that it mentions the 2 or more times in the last 30 days, and then the one on the right mentions the 3 or more times. For that left one, for the 2 or more times, that was for the Venture X, probably some other Venture cards as well. And then the one with, that says 3 or more times, that was for the Quicksilver secured card. So basically, they allow you to have applied more often with their lower tier card here as an example, and still potentially be eligible. And note here that it has to do with applying for a Capital One card, not being denied or not being approved. If you simply applied, meaning you simply submitted an application to Capital One, that counts. Now, allow me to jump in here real quick and briefly mention that if you plan to add some Capital One cards to your wallet to use along with your overall strategy, it can eventually become quite overwhelming to juggle multiple cards, especially when the rewards currencies are different. So if you're looking for a great way to manage multiple cards easily, check out today's sponsor called MAXREWARDS. MAXREWARDS is an app that allows you to manage your credit cards, rewards, and benefits all in one place. Then the Best Card tab helps you identify which card to use for different purchases. That way you can earn points or cash back even faster. And perhaps my favorite feature is the Benefits and Offers dashboard, which you can unlock with the gold level of MAXREWARDS. You might be familiar with Chase offers, Amex offers, Bank of America deals, and others. Each time you sync the app, all of your offers will be activated automatically, including the hidden ones from Amex that you didn't even know about. So if you'd like to try MAXREWARDS, use the link down below in the description to get the gold level entirely free for your first month. Now back to all the crazy Capital One rules. The next rule is the 5 or more card rule. This one states that you're not eligible for the card offer if you have 5 or more open credit card accounts with Capital One. As I record this video, I've only seen this language on their business credit cards, but you never know if it may expand to their personal products at some point in the future, so be on the lookout for this. And it's this rule, by the way, that pretty much negates the one that we're going to cover next, and this one has been rumored for so long. I'm not sure how it first started, but I put some additional bullet points there at the top here for you, because this 2-card limit or a 2-card rule is either been previously true but now false, or it's been rumored but always false, or it's been true but inconsistently applied. At this point, I have no idea. All I can say is that pretty much every single credit card blog that I've read online mentions this rule when they talk about application rules for Capital One. So crazy how it started, but nonetheless, it's been said for years that you can only have 2 personal Capital One credit cards. It was also said that the following were excluded. There are co-branded cards like the Walmart Rewards card and any of the other store cards that Capital One issues, as well as business cards like the Spark Cash ones or the Spark Miles ones, for example. However, I and other people have disproved this. Some of you may have seen my video from over a year ago where I debunked the Capital One 2-card limit. In fact, in that video, I already had 2 personal cards and I applied on camera for my 3rd one and got approved. In fact, here's a screenshot of my dashboard right now with Capital One, and you can see my Capital One Saver one, my Capital One Venture Rewards card, my Venture X, and my Spark Business Select. And if you want to see them in person, here you go, all 4 of them, 3 personal and 1 business, and none of the personal ones are co-branded. They're just Capital One regular credit cards. Let's take a look at another rule here called the 1/6 rule. And this kind of has the same nature as the one we just looked at, in that it has either been previously true and now false, or rumored but always false, or true but inconsistently applied on Capital One's part. It's been said that you can only get approved for one Capital One credit card every 6 months. This includes their personal credit cards and their small business credit cards. Unfortunately, I don't have much to offer in terms of data points from my world because my Capital One cards are more than 6 months apart anyway, because I just acted as if this rule were true, and pretty much the more time you give between applications anyway, your chances of approval may increase. For example, if you go 2, 3, 4 cards real fast from the same issuer, you're likely going to get at least one or more of those flagged. Then you got to call reconsideration and you still may not get approved. So spacing applications to some degree can help you. But if you look online, some people have data points out there that they have gotten approved for more than one Capital One card in a 6 month or less of a time frame. So your mileage may vary, but just be aware that this has been talked about for a long time. We now have an absolutely fascinating topic that Capital One is very well known for, and pretty much no other issuer from the big ones in the US at least do this in the way that Capital One does, per my understanding. What bucketing is that Capital One offers different versions of the same card for different credit score ranges. If you get approved for a lower tier version, for example, the fair credit version or the good credit version, then you may not be able to get a credit limit increase at any point in the future, or get upgraded to one of the higher tier versions at any point in the future. This likely applies to individual cards, not your overall Capital One account, though I cannot guarantee that. And the only potential way out might be applying for a new Capital One card. Yeah, pretty crazy in my opinion. And here's an example of all the Capital One Quicksilver cards. From the left to the right, we have people with excellent credit, then people with good credit, and then fair credit, and then another fair credit. The last one secured while the one before that, the third one, is not. Then for the Saver One rewards, we have 3 versions here. For good credit, excellent, and excellent. 2 are Saver One. The other is a regular Saver. That one has the annual fee and a slightly higher earning rate. There's also a student version as well, just so you're aware. And same thing here with Capital One's Venture One and Venture cards. There's good credit on the Venture One side, excellent, and then 2 more excellent for different products here. So when you're applying, they all say Venture and they all say Saver something. You want to make sure you're clicking on the right one based on your credit score. It's also possible that you go apply for one of the higher tier excellent credit versions, and if Capital One can't approve you for that for whatever reason, they may offer you the alternative of getting one of the lower tier ones, like the good or the fair credit versions, which may mean you get approved without a sign-up bonus or some other modified terms, perhaps a higher APR or whatever it happens to be. So that would occur during the application process where it says, we can't do this, but we can offer you this instead. Another thing that Capital One is super well known for is their 3 hard pulls or 3 inquiries for every application that you submit. That is, Capital One pulls from all 3 major credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax for each new credit card application. This means you get 3 new inquiries, but only 1 per report. With that in mind, it may be possible to freeze 1 report, either Experian or Equifax, and still get approved. That's what I personally did when I applied for the Capital One Venture X card some time ago. I froze my Experian report, and therefore I only got 2 total pulls and 2 inquiries because Capital One could not access my Experian report, and I still got approved with the bonus. However, with my second application here on the personal side with the the Saver One, that one I had my report frozen, Experian again, got approved, but with no sign-up bonus. That's why I've mentioned a couple times here that some rules may be inconsistently applied by Capital One, and there's no way to know, at least from our perspective, when it will apply and when it won't. All I can tell you right now is that if you looked at the terms from their disclosures, it does say explicitly, I understand I'm not eligible for this offer if I have implemented a credit security freeze or credit lock with one or more of the credit bureaus. And finally, we have recent inquiries / account sensitivity. What I'm referring to here is that Capital One is known to be sensitive to recent inquiries and newly opened accounts. While not necessarily a hard rule, I would personally want the following prior to applying for a Capital One card: 0 new inquiries in the past 6 months and 0 newly opened accounts in the past 6 months. We covered a lot of ground in this video, and I know you're probably sitting back in your chair thinking, wow, that's a lot of stuff to remember, and probably you forgot a lot of them already. So here's a nice checklist for all of you to go through before you go ahead and fill out an application with Capital One, just to make sure that you are in compliance with all these. That way you can ideally put the odds of approval much more in your favor. With all that said, if you enjoyed today's video and believe it could benefit other people, then please help me get it in front of them by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on those notifications. That way you can always be alerted to other helpful videos like this one. Also, check out the links down below in the description area to earn some more cash back when you shop online through Rakuten, to sign up for the new version of MAXREWARDS to manage multiple cards, rewards, benefits, and more all in one place, and to view my site with some great credit card offers that I've organized into different categories to help you find the cards that you like best. I thank you all for watching today's video. Hope you got some great value out of it to make your applications with Capital One go a lot more smoothly going forward. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and while you're waiting for it, always remember that you are great.